A very big letdown of my perfect
I'm
day.
going to be a stump in the wall.
Okay.
He likes that something.
You're going to be the dissenting voter. I like it.
I don't care. I have an opinion. I don't change it.
Okay, Lisa. Remember how to turn
Tonight, I'm not going to. I really should have done what I thought. I'm going to go to bed and I'm going to. After I go to the gym.
Where is the gym?
I go to MTM. Eric Morris.
The town is bright.
All right, councilors ready? Someday when I relocate here, if I sell my house, wait another minute. I'm getting a lot of interest in my house in Calais. We're going to. Yes. Someone's got to stay there with the house and the dogs and cat. He's coming down tomorrow. We're going to Freeport for the annual Health Trust meeting. So he's bringing my
Clear.
my toy with me. Okay. EW. Bringing it down tomorrow.
Is it? Are you going to be here?
No place to put it.
Ready? Ready.
Call this meeting to order, this workshop. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can you do roll call for us, Twyla?
Sure. Council Garrison?
Present.
Council Lunt?
Here.
Council McTevier is excused. Council Bickford?
Here.
Council Ward?
Here.
Council Pesky?
Here.
And Council Brunel?
Here.
Okay, we'll move into the workshop, and when the workshop is finished, we'll move into the council meeting after that. I believe the town manager has an itinerary, as it were. Sure. For the 2015 updated budget proposal, I've made one change since we met last week, and it's under the general government town manager's budget, and it's the professional development line, and I've reduced that by $6,035. I looked at the detail from all the other professional development lines, and they're right in line with the mandatory training that each department has to have specific to their needs and their jobs, with certifications and trainings that are mandated. So that's the only difference from last time we presented the budget, and if you recall, we had made an adjustment in that budget by about $12,000 reduction. So overall, it's an $18,000 reduction since you first voted on the budget. And that's about all I can come up with right now in the time frame that I have. And I really urge you to pass the budget so that we can implement some changes that are in this budget, so that we can see the savings that we project on the expense side. The longer we keep this out there, the less of the savings we're going to see moving forward. And as you have already directed me, I will be doing a personnel study, and that's going to take some time, but I will do that. And hopefully, we may see some other savings as we move forward in the year. And maybe not, depending on what comes out of that study. Right. I know that individual counselors had specific issues. Having had a week to look over the budget again and hearing what the town manager has done for an additional change, I'd like to invite council to individually ask any remaining questions or address any remaining issues. Not only so that we can answer the questions that we still might have, but also so that whether the budget passes or fails, we know what to work on. Even if it passes, if there are still specific issues that individual counselors want to address, it doesn't mean we let them drop just because the budget passes. Could I say one more thing? The other thing that I want to look at throughout the year, too, is some areas where we may need to go out to bid on certain types of services that could have a potential savings as we move forward. I've identified a couple of areas that we may want to look at, but going out to bid for different types of services, there could be some savings there as well. So that's going to be something that I'm going to look at as well. It's just, I just don't have time right now because of the time frame we have to get this budget passed.
Okay.
So did you find out, I know you're looking into that, the account with the CDBG.
Right.
Did you find you can't use that?
We cannot use that as matching funds. You cannot use,
It comes
because
from
we've
that.
determined that those funds came from other CDBG grants. One of the accounts, the one that has about $36,000 in it, we can redesignate that for economic development and use that. But we just cannot use that as matching funds. So we need to keep the $50,000 in the budget so that we can show that we have matching funds. Now, the other account that has over $150,000 in it, Tracy, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but we have to have a hearing, a public hearing, and then council can redesignate some or all of those funds for a specific purpose within the guidelines,
Depending on the amount.
depending on the amount. So that one, the $36,000 one, you know, we can do now at any time to go with the facade program. But the other account, there's a process we have to follow. But they were all originally CDBG funds, and you cannot use CDBG funds as matching for other CDBG funds. But at least we got our question answered, so I tried.
That's all we can ask.
I was hoping it was EDA funds or UDAG so that we could use it.
Anyone else? I do know that over the last week, I've gone through my notes and talked to folks on and off, folks who were involved in the process, and then also some folks who have sort of been on the outside of the process, working toward passing a budget. And I'm really reminded of the fact that the Finance Committee, who we tasked to help us look at financial issues, has supported budget passing. And PCL, who we have been working hand in hand with and who supports us and we support them, also has endorsed the passing of the budget. I see that as because those people also represent other people, but they also have specific focus on individual issues. I see that as a really strong endorsement, that two strong committees both support passing the budget. I think that if I sit and open my budget book every single day, I could probably find something else that I could fix in it every single day. So I asked the town manager to do it instead. It's one of the reasons that we hired someone with a strong financial background, and I didn't ask her to look at it every day. That was the feeling that I had when I asked her to continually look at the budget, to not consider it a finished budget, but to consider it a work in progress, just as for our home budgets, we adjust our budget according to what's going on. So I feel confident that she'll continue to do that, and I think that putting the personnel study in place, the idea of going out to bid on services that we haven't gone out to bid on for a while, could do a lot of good for us, at least give us a better perspective on those issues, if not save money, and hopefully to save money. All of my questions have been answered, not all to my satisfaction, but I am satisfied that as a work in progress, I think this budget's a good one. And but I really want the rest of council to know that it is a work in progress, and that whenever we have questions about budget issues, we need to make sure that the person who we hired to take care of that is aware of it and continues to work on it. So, Vice Chair Pesky, I know that you have a lot of questions about it, and I just want to make sure that people know what the questions are, so that we know why we vote the way we do later on, and help continue to make it a work that we're working together on, not something that we're fighting with each other about. So,
One of the questions I have for Diane is looking over the Route 196 preliminary scope project that we got. I noticed that the town in the budget, $50,000 set aside for that. And then also another $50,000 was coming from set aside currently for business support in here. I was wondering where that was going to come from and what that means, set aside for business support.
I guess in...
where is that?
Yeah, where is that?
It's here, I can, in the preliminary scope that we got in email that Councilor Lunt requested. It's on it. I can give it to you right here if
Yeah,
that'll help you.
I think I printed that.
Tracy maybe can help me on this. I think that 50,000 is the matching funds.
I think that
50 current budget item, 50,000. That's in-kind match. The other 50,000 is the in-kind match, so, which is the in-kind services, along with the 50,000 that we're raising, will leverage us 100. We'll have 100, which will get us a quarter of the 400,000. So we'll get 400,000 for the grant.
What does the in-kind match mean?
Means any type of services, administrative services, anything that maybe Public Works might be doing. It's all stuff Tracy can.
It can be a combination. One of the things with CDBG is basically having the monetary. So some of that percentage could be monetary, some of it could be in-house, it could be in-house engineering, it could be work that Public Works does. So it can be a mixture of things. But that's what they want to see. Sometimes they want, a certain percentage that has to be monetary. But in order to even remotely go out for the grant, that money has to be kind of like on hold, saying that we do a letter of intent that we want to put in for this grant, and we have secured our matching funds are in place.
Yeah, I get that piece of the actual line item for the 50,000, but the second piece of this preliminary outline shows an additional 50,000 set aside, and it.
Within that, I think, and I'm sorry, I don't have that in front of me, Counselor, but what Amanda was doing in that one is that she's calculating on some of the engineering work that has to be done in regards to the downtown plan. But what we had found out through Augusta, through CDBG, that we can utilize some of that funding with what we have in the revolving loan CDBG funds as part of that money to use for that type of work out of that 36,000.
So can I ask just a clarifying question? What we actually have to come up with is $100,000. We come up with 50 in cash and 50 in kind.
Right.
Okay.
See, I think that's exactly what I thought when I read this, but to me that was very deceiving to read it this way, because I understood it as be $50,000. That's all we're going to have to put in. So that's one reason why I had this marked down for me to ask the question about, because I found that very weaving between, and that wasn't, I didn't like that, so.
I think it's based on, as far as in looking at the actual grant match it going, we've been trying to come up with different creative ways to help out with that, but in the conversations that we had with them up in Augusta, this is, in putting it together, and then she tried to be very detailed as far as in laying everything out on this is what we would need.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any other questions or discussion for workshop?
Well, I know we've talked about the personnel study and that Diane can do some of that in-house, but I think I would like, as a council, for us to meet with Eaton Peabody, at least to hear their proposal and see whatever their, actually get some numbers or, what they're proposing to do, and if they can work with Diane to have her do some stuff in-house and they can do some. I think just having an outside group doing it would provide some objectivity, and I think would help citizens in town feel this isn't just staff just defending their own spending priorities. It would be, either way, it would be somebody giving an outside voice who's not, in town with a stake here right in town. I think that would be, at least, I'd like to see that as a commitment from the council to meet with them at least and see what their proposal is and how much it would cost before we move on.
Well, I think that makes sense. It's much the same reason that we chose to use Eaton Peabody to help us find a new manager, to make sure that we did it right and that we knew what the options were because we had professionals. I think that's a good idea. I trust Diane to do that preliminary study for us, but I don't see anything wrong with making sure that we take a look at it. I know that I spoke with the folks at Eaton Peabody on phone just when we started talking about a month ago about needing this and really identifying what we needed to do. And it was just a phone conversation. I think I felt like it was a lot of money, and it was too much of a press of time for them at that time. So at that time, my main goal was to find out how long would it take to do this if we needed to do it right now. And the amount of time that we had was not enough for them to do it properly.
I understand that, but
So
I'd like to at
we
least
can look at
see a
it.
commitment to meet with them
Yeah.
to discuss what it would cost and what it would
We can
involve.
ask them for a proposal. And is there any reason we should ask only them? I mean, it makes sense to ask
Well,
for
where
other
they're,
organizations that do that.
I think Municipal Resources, I think, does that. It might be, another one to contact.
but they're going to do that other study for you about the water department, and maybe if they did both together, you
time.
might save some money.
They're going to be coming here anyway.
Sure.
And, they could save on their time.
But with that said, too, I mean, I probably could help them out with doing some of the legwork, if, getting some of the information that they might need for the study that might be able to keep the costs down. But if they're going to be here doing that other study, it would make sense for them to do it all at one time.
When does the other study start?
It's basically, they're just putting the facts and figures together now.
They're putting a draft.
Right.
Proposal together, right, for the cost.
So it's a good time to go ahead and ask them for that.
I'll see Dawn on Thursday, if you want me to talk to him about it.
Okay. I think
Dawn Garish.
we're pretty
And
generally in
Dick
agreement.
Mativia.
Yeah. That way, we'll know we're moving forward and not dragging our feet. And in the meantime, we'll also know that you're gathering information and getting the ball rolling. Okay. Do we have any other discussion?
Not on that, not on the budget.
Okay. Councilor Bickford asked me if we could briefly discuss one more workshop-y type item before we move into the meeting. If you want to go ahead and...
I've been talking with members of the council and over an ordinance that would, so I'm going to try to say this without getting too tongue-tied here. An ordinance that would would make it very hard to put bonds on the June ballot unless it's an emergency. And that would be for every municipality, school, or water department. And basically, I just kind of wanted to see if, I have talked to a lot of the councilors independently, but I'd like to see if there's enough consensus to have Diane move on with it, to see if it would work. She would like to have, she would like to contact legal to make sure everything was all right with the charter, which I think it is, and go with that.
I think that's a good point to pursue. It came up quite a bit before the June election, and I think we should take a look at where we could stand on that, Diane?
I can do that.
And it would be, I foresee a catastrophic event that would make it, it would have to be a catastrophic event to have put something on the June bond.
Or you could have a cap on it that like no more than $1 million except in November, something like that.
Anything,
So if you still need to do a small, you need a bond, $200,000 for a truck, you could still do it, but if you want to bond $20 million for a new school, that should be in November.
I think we should look into what other towns have done instead of reinventing the wheel, and find out what the legal standpoint is on that.
Yep, I
Okay.
can check that.
All right, it's not something that we need to make any decisions on or anything, but if you could take care of that, that's perfect. All right. Are we ready to move into,
Want to adjourn the workshop?
do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the workshop.
Do we have a second?
Second that?
All those in favor of adjourning the workshop?
Order passed, 6-0.
Okay.
So we should begin with council orders, ordinances, and resolutions. Resolution 2014-141 to adopt the 2014-15 municipal budget. For general government, Department 1, line 5100 for personnel services, $1,726,500. Line 5200 for contractual services, $619,300. Line 5300 for repairs and maintenance and operating supplies, $78,750. Line 5400 for capital purchases, $64,348. Line 5500 for lease purchases, $15,237, for a total of the general government budget totaling $2,504,135. That would
Do
be
we need a
with the-
motion before we open discussion?
Yep, and that would be the motion without the $6,035 in it.
Okay.
We need a motion to what?
We need a motion on the floor before we can discuss,
To
correct?
move that
Oh, I'll
amount.
make the motion.
Do we have a second to approve the budget?
For general government at $2,504,135.
Counselor Bickford has made a motion to approve the municipal budget. Do we have a second? I'll second it. The motion is on the floor for discussion.
Any discussion? I'm ready to go.
Can't say I'm happy with the proposed tax increase, but I don't see that we're going to get any better in the next week, so.
Thank you, right, Mr. Lunt. Mr. Garrison? Mr. Pesky?
I don't have anything to say.
Okay. Mr. Brunel?
I have nothing to say either.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. This is a roll call vote.
If you'd like.
All right,
Ready for a vote?
I believe we are.
Counselor Lunt?
Yes.
Counselor Brunel?
Yes.
Counselor McTevier is absent. Counselor Ward?
Yes.
Counselor Pesky?
No.
Counselor Bickford?
Yes.
And Counselor Garrison?
Yes.
We have 5 yeas and 1 nay. Order passed.
Thank you, Twyla.
For Public Safety, Department 2, line 5100 for personnel services, $1,431,354. Line 5200 for contractual services, $42,320. Line 5300 for repairs and maintenance and operating supplies, $127,445. Line 5400 for capital purchases, $129,658. Line 5500 for lease purchases, $35,700. For the public safety budget total, $1,766,477.
So we'll look for a motion to accept the public safety budget.
I'll make that motion.
May I have a second?
I'll second it.
This is also a roll call vote?
If you'd like. All right. Counselor Ward,
Yes.
Counselor Brunel,
Yes.
Counselor Lunt,
Yes.
Counselor Pesky,
No.
Counselor Bickford,
Yes.
and Counselor Garrison.
Yes.
5 yeas, 1 nay. Order passed. For Public Works, Department 3, line 5100 for Personnel Services, $689,346. Line 5200 for Contractual Services, $760,750. Line 5300 for Repairs and Maintenance and Operating Supplies, $427,380. Line 5400 for Capital Purchases, $286,600. Line 5500 for Lease Purchases, $44,314. Totaling for the Public Works budget, $2,208,390.
Do we have a motion to accept the Public Works budget?
I'll make the motion to accept.
I'll second it.
And I'd like a roll call vote for this too, please.
All right. And Counselor Garrison,
Yes.
Counselor Bickford,
Yes.
Counselor Pesky,
No.
Counselor Ward,
Yes.
Counselor Brunel,
Yes.
Counselor Lunt.
Yes.
5 yeas, 1 nay. Order passed.
Thank you.
For Public Safety, Department 4, line 5100 for Personnel Services, $389,920. Line 5200 for Contractual Services, $57,310. Line 5300 for Repairs and Maintenance and Operating Supplies, $101,370. Line 5400 for Capital Purchases, $500. Total Public Services budget, $549,100.
Do we have a motion to accept the Public Services budget?
I'll make that motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Counselor Bickford,
Yes.
Counselor Ward,
Yes.
Counselor Pesky,
No.
Counselor Garrison,
Yes.
Counselor Brunel,
Yes.
and Counselor Lunt.
Yes.
5 yeas, 1 nay. Order passed. For General Assistance, County Tax and Debt Service, Department 5-9, line 5200 for Contractual Services, $597,800. Line 5300 for Repairs and Maintenance and Operating Supplies, $100. Line 5500 for Lease Purchases, $337,000. Total General Assistance, County Tax and Debt Service budget, $934,900.
Do we have a motion to accept the general assistance?
Make the motion.
Okay,
I'll second that.
thank you. And a roll call vote?
Counselor Lunt,
Yes.
Counselor Brunel,
Yes.
Counselor Ward,
Yes.
Counselor Pesky,
No.
Counselor Bickford,
Yes.
and Counselor Garrison.
Yes.
5 yeas, 1 nay. Order passed. For the 2014-2015 municipal budget resolution, be it hereby resolved by the Town Council of the Town of Lisbon as follows, that the municipal budget for the Town of Lisbon for the fiscal year commencing on July 1, 2014 and ending on June 30, 2050 be and hereby is adopted with a total expenditure of $7,963,002, balanced with a total of $2,519,215 in estimated revenue. A summary of appropriations is attached to this resolution as Exhibit A. A summary of estimated revenue is attached to this resolution as Exhibit B. A roll call vote, if you'd like.
Yes, please.
Okay. And Counselor Garrison? Oh, we need a motion first.
Oh, sorry.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Roll call vote. Counselor Garrison?
Yes.
Counselor Bickford?
Yes.
Counselor Pesky?
No.
Counselor Ward?
Yes.
Counselor Brunel?
Yes.
And Counselor Lunt?
Yes.
5 yeas, 1 nay. Order passed. The next item is the Resolution 2014-142 for the 2014-15 Economic Development Budget. Budget number 27,700. Be it hereby resolved by the Town Council of the Town of Lisbon as follows, that the economic development budget for the Town of Lisbon for the fiscal year commencing on July 1, 2014 and ending on June 30th, 2015, be and hereby is adopted with a total expenditure of $93,410 as follows. Line 5100 for personnel services, $75,060. Line 5200 for contractual services, $15,150. And line 5300 for repairs, maintenance, and operating supplies at $3,200.
I'll make the motion to accept.
I'll second that.
We'll have a roll call vote, since we did for all the others.
All right. Counselor Garrison,
Yes.
Counselor Bickford,
Yes.
Counselor Pesky,
Yes.
Counselor Ward,
Yes.
Counselor Brunel,
Yes.
and Counselor Lunt.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yeas and 0 nays. Order passed.
Thank you, Twyla. The next item?
Order 2014-143A, a catering permit for high-style caterers.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to accept.
I'll second it.
Before we move into the vote, I just wanted to mention something that I had mentioned to the town manager a little earlier. This wasn't originally on our agenda. We added it at the last minute. We've had 2 last-minute permits in several weeks, and I just didn't know if there is a way that we could make sure that those companies who are asking us for the permits are made aware. I don't know how they're made aware, what the process is, but it was a different catering company last time.
Yes. The Knights of Columbus had somebody new doing their permitting this year. Typically, they come in early enough to make sure
Okay.
they're on an agenda in time. But most of the time, like the second caterer, when you have weddings and somebody from the town of Lisbon caters, finds somebody out of the town or whatever, they come to bring alcohol to that facility
Right.
for that wedding. That's not something that's known very much early on. And so some towns opt to have or authorize their town clerk to administer that portion. So for catering permits, for instance, in the city of Lewiston, the city clerk would be authorized to issue those on behalf of the council. And so you're welcome to entertain that kind of a motion if you're interested, to allow the town clerk in Lisbon to, on behalf of the council, review them and issue them. You have done that for games of chance, for bingo, that sort of thing. So you have done some of those authorizations through our office, but you might want to reserve liquor license themselves to be done here at the council level in case other things arise and public hearings are required if necessary, if you'd like, and that sort of
Okay.
thing.
Well, I guess I was just thinking, I know this one is for a wedding, and I certainly wouldn't want to be the instrument of somebody not having a caterer for their wedding. So I was thinking there must be an easier way, and it sounds like there is.
There is. We do a couple of these a year, so, I mean, it's not a lot of them
Okay.
that we do.
Yeah, how does council feel, I think? Can we come up with the language that we need and look at that at our next meeting, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay, at our next regular meeting, we'll take a look at that. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to accept the catering permit for high-style catering. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Order passed, 6-0.
Thanks for your help, Twyla.
You're very welcome.
And the next item, please.
Order 2014-143B, a community planning agreement for professional services.
All right.
I just need to have authorization to sign the contract with Amanda Bunker for the professional services.
Right. Okay, so we,
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
This is already budgeted for, and the budget gets passed? Okay.
Yes.
all right. That's the first thing I checked. And I was like, wait a minute, we did put that in.
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
Yes.
All right. All those in favor of accepting?
Order passed, 6-0.
Thank you.
Next item is an adjournment.
I will make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Oh, would you like, before you vote, to do any
Before we
audience
vote.
participation?
Oh, yes.
You keep forgetting that, sorry.
I know, I even asked you to make sure you put it on the agenda, and I skipped it. Did you? I did, not on purpose. All right. We'll open up for audience participation. If there is anyone in the audience who has any comments or questions for council? All right. So,
So your motion?
all those in favor of adjournment?
Okay. Order passed 6-0.
Thank you.
I'm gonna take my burgers home.
Sign Rogers.
I did, yeah.
Wrap them in tin foil. Real.
Here, you get them there.
I'm gonna take them home. Can't eat burgers, really?